Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday's Big Blue Kickoff Live. Sorry for the delay, a bit of a scheduling snafu. Thank you to Matthew Citak for jumping in from upstairs and stepping in. Sorry for starting late. So we'll go to around 1:40 today, taking your calls at 201-939-4513 in the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. Big Blue Kickoff Live is, of course, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. How was your bye week off, Mr. Citak?
It was great. Very relaxing.
And Giants
Nice.
didn't lose.
Giants didn't lose. And as of right now, Giants are at the first pick. Without even having played.
It's funny. I originally thought that I was going to host a show with Vitino, and this was not Paul's fault, by the way. I'm not throwing him under the bus. And I was going to ask him about this, and I was waiting to see how Paul would be like, John, I haven't even thought about this yet. I don't know what I'm going to do. But now you're here, and I know you actually do think about this stuff, so I can actually ask you the question. Ideal situation. Throw this prospect class away. Don't worry about it. Assume it's unnamed group of prospects.
Okay.
If you had your choice of any great player at any position with the first overall pick in the draft, what position would you take?
What do you mean forget the
I will let you create a prospect out of thin air. The best prospect in this class could be at any position. What position would you draft with the first overall pick in the draft?
Okay.
Yes.
Ooh. This might be a cop-out, but I feel like if the Giants actually end with the first pick, you have to look into trading down.
I'm taking that off the table for now.
Okay.
You have to pick a player in one. And I'm taking quarterback off the table.
Yeah, I would not go quarterback. I feel like pretty confident heading into next year with Jaxson Dart as the quarterback.
I would say if there was an Andrew Luck level quarterback prospect in this year's draft class, I think you have to have that conversation regardless of who's in your building. But there's not. So that's the thing. I'm taking quarterback off the table.
Okay.
It's not an easy question.
No. You know what? Maybe offensive tackle?
That's what I would say too.
And I say that hoping that Jermaine Illuminor is back next year. But because he's a pending free agent, he's likely played himself into at least a much bigger contract than what he just got from the Giants last offseason or 2 off seasons ago. I hopefully he's back, but if not, then obviously your right tackle spot opposite Andrew Thomas is the most glaring hole going into the offseason. So a tackle would make sense. I would say
that would be that. I'm 1A, 1B. My 1B would be wide receiver.
I was literally about to say, and my other choice would be wide receiver. Similar situation with Wan'Dale Robinson, a pending free agent. Now I would say, I feel like bringing back Jermaine Illuminor should maybe be a slightly higher priority than Wan'Dale, only because
good question.
We have seen the Giants' offensive line for the first time in what feels like over a decade actually produce solid, consistent results on a week in and week out basis. And Jermaine Illuminor obviously has played a very big part of that. Andrew Thomas is the lead guy in that group, and the 3 interior guys I think have been playing better than a lot of people expected them to play. But Jermaine Illuminor has really held it down on the right side. So, and as great as Wan'Dale's having a great season, probably the best season of his career. But you did also just last offseason give a contract to Darius Slayton. Obviously, Malik Neighbors heading into year 3, but it's after your 3rd year that you are eligible to sign an extension, correct? Mm-hmm. So if Malik comes back, has a monster year, you would expect he would at least want an extension. So it's just how much money can you really give out to wide receivers each offseason? So I feel like
no, I'm with you. I think your logic is sound.
I also think you could just pretty much take almost any position on defense. Maybe not outside linebacker, edge rusher, because with Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau under contract for at least 1 more year, I feel like it's obviously not as big of a need. And you just, this past draft, with the number 3 overall pick, you just chose the best player in Abdul Carter, despite it not being a position of need. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I know you said kind of take the actual specific prospects out, but someone like Arvell Reese?
Yeah.
Maybe even Caleb Downs.
Let me ask you, would you consider Arvell Reese or even a Ruben Bain, let's say?
Well, Ruben Bain is more of an edge rusher, no?
Mm-hmm, he is. Would you consider one of those 2 guys if you moved Thibodeau for a player at a position of need in the offseason and you just had Burns and Carter on the roster?
Yes, but at the same time, I want to see Burns and Abdul
So
kind
do I.
of have get the full allotment of snaps each and every week.
I agree with you.
And while it's great to have a surplus, especially at a premier position like edge rusher, I don't know. We've seen this year, like the rotating the three of them, it hasn't produced the results that we kind of thought that the defensive line was going to get. Now, I think
Agreed.
the performance of Dexter Lawrence in the middle has, I think, played a role in that. He hasn't had the dominant season we've grown accustomed to, which I think has led to, outside of Burns, the edge guys not quite getting the same or the production that maybe we thought they were going to get.
I agree. How would you then rank 3 technique defensive tackle, inside linebacker, and corner? I think corner has to be 1 just because Flott's a free agent.
Yeah, again, it's another position with a pending free agent. If you
And-
tell me Flott's going to be back with him and Adebo as the top 2 corners on the outside, corner is not as big of a need.
And Mike McFadden inside linebacker too.
Yes. So I guess, fortunately, all of these free agent questions will be answered before the draft.
Correct. Correct.
But-
Which is why I don't want to spend too much time on this. But I just thought it was an interesting exercise, given right now the Giants would have their pick of the litter. Again, if you're not controlled by the quality of the class. But I'm with you right now. You sit there, and I think right now Fernando Martinez is probably the hands down top quarterback in this class as of now.
Mendoza?
What did I say, Martinez?
Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza. Sorry, yes. And Carl Banks kept saying Martinez to me before, about joking about something else, and that got stuck in my head. That would be the player that teams would try to trade up for. I think that Simpson's fallen back. He has not played well the last half of this year. And I think Tony Paulinus told me he thinks Dante Moore's going back to Oregon. So I think Mendoza would be the guy. That would have to be a trade-down situation in your stack picks. You'd
Now,
have to.
for Giants fans, regardless of how the Giants do over this next month, I think every Giant fan should be rooting for Mendoza to have an unbelievable college football playoff performance.
And Dante Moore, for that matter.
And Dante Moore,
And
even
Tyler
Ty Simpson.
That's correct.
All of them have all the quarterbacks play out of their minds because, as we all know, quarterbacks always rise in the months leading up to the draft.
Yep.
Giants are not in the business of needing a quarterback this draft. So whether the Giants are at 1 and looking to trade down or 5, you would want, 3 quarterback needy teams to be ahead of them. So one of the best position players drops to them wherever the Giants end up drafting.
Yes, I agree 100%. All right.
Now, I will just real quick, we don't have to talk about this because I'm going to get real up in arms if we do, but you want to talk about the best quarterback in college football this past season? It's not Mendoza. It's not Dante Moore. And it's not Ty Simpson. It's a guy who may not even get drafted or a day 3 draft pick. Not really an NFL prospect, but I'm sorry. The best quarterback in college football this past season, Mr. Diego Pavia.
Well,
And I'm not going to say no bias because there's definitely bias, but if you just look at the numbers.
most certainly should be in high contention for the Heisman Trophy.
What I am just curious, maybe you'll be able to answer this. Mendoza became the heavy favorite to win Heisman after Saturday night, where he didn't play that great. Indiana beat Ohio State to win the conference championship.
Very nice job.
But he didn't really do much.
He had big fourth quarter, but yes.
Yeah, but you look at his numbers.
No,
the overall box score, it just wasn't that impressive, and he
I
became
agree.
the heavy favorite for Heisman after that.
Well, winning counts in that sort of stuff. It's not just about statistics.
I guess, but I give more credit to the head coach.
I
than
don't disagree with
Mendoza.
you. Look, that's why I said Mendoza is not to me like a Andrew Luck level type of prospect here. I think he's a good player. I think he's deservedly a first round pick. But again, I'm not sure how high the ceiling is there necessarily. I think, look, and I know the committee, and I want to give small schools a chance.
Oh, don't get me started on the committee. I'm very, very mad at the committee
What-
right now.
What are we doing with Tulane and James Madison here? Are we just going to enjoy 2 first round, 30-point losses and say, oh, well, they won their conferences?
Rename it the College Football Invitational. It's not the College Football Playoff because you don't have the 12 best teams in the country playing.
Notre Dame has every right to be upset. They're one of the 12 best teams. And again, I have no problem with Miami going over them because of the head-to-head matchup. I got no problem with that necessarily. But do you want to tell me that Tulane and James Madison are better teams than Notre Dame and even Vanderbilt?
BYU. BYU has 2 losses to Texas Tech. That's it.
I mean, This isn't a college football show, so I don't
No,
get too deep into
and
it.
I could go on
yes.
for a very long time
Yes,
about my
I know
feelings
you
about
can.
the college
Yes,
football
I know you
playoff right
can.
now.
And
Since
they
they
would be
screwed us
fair.
out of the playoff, Vandy, that is, throw us a bone. Give Diego Heisman.
And
He deserves
by the
it.
way, how much did they play people along with this whole like ratings every week and how they do it? And then in the end, none of it ended up mattering like at all.
Yeah,
Like,
again,
it's just amazing.
We could have a whole
Amazing.
podcast just about
Amazing.
that.
All right, so I
We'll
did
go back to the Giants.
So I did a little self scout today. Okay. Of the Giants. It's the same routine I do every week for the Giants' opponent, just to kind of see who they are, figure out what type of team they are. And I'm going to throw some things at you, Matt. You haven't looked at any of this yet, so I'm throwing these all cold.
No idea what you're about to throw at me.
So here's what I'm going to throw at you. The Giants this year offensively have overall been pretty good. EPA per play, believe it or not, they're 9th in the National Football League offensively in EPA per play.
I do believe it. Doesn't surprise me.
19th in DVOA. Again, those are two different efficiency metrics. Passing, DVOA, they're 16th. EPA per play, they're 14th. So pretty good. Success rate, this is interesting. Success rate, guys, is determined. This is not quite as analytic. So basically, you either have to get half the number of yardage needed for a first down on either first or second down. So if it's 2nd and 10, you get 5 yards. It's a successful play. 1st and 10, 5 yards. It's a successful play. And do the math after that. But 3rd and 4th down, in order for it to be a successful play, you have to get the first down. That's kind of how you determine what a successful play is. So overall, just 23rd. Overall, 14th rush, 27th passing success rate. And the reason why is the Giants have been one of the best big play offenses in the National Football League this year. Do you know where the Giants rank, Matt, in overall plays of 20 or more yards per game? Overall for the, not per game, sorry. Overall plays of 20 or more yards, where they rank in the National Football League.
Pretty high up, I would think.
8th.
Yeah. I was gonna
Pass
say top 10.
plays of 20-plus yards, 7th. It's really good. Considering where the teams have been at in that category, it was one of the keys we had in the offseason, right? You had to make more big plays. And if you want to look at how this Giants offense has really succeeded, is running the ball, they're fine. 14th success rate, 20th EPA per play, 17th DVOA, they're fine. They're not great, they're fine. But what's made this offense different is their big plays. 7th in pass plays of 20-plus yards. Do you know where they are in pass plays of 30-plus yards?
Also top 10?
3rd.
Yeah.
3rd with 19. The big plays in the passing game, and then I looked this up too. The Giants have the percentage of passes that travel at least 20 yards in the air. They lead the National Football League at 18%. It's like 3% higher than anybody else.
That's kind of, that stat in particular is kind of insane to think about, considering what we have had here the last couple of years.
Yes.
Where we probably ranked among, if not last, pretty far down that list.
Yes.
In air yards of 20 plays of 20-plus yards. So at least they're, uncorking it downfield.
And by the way, this has worked with 3 different quarterbacks. Jameis, Winston, Wilson, and with Dart.
Well, Wilson had one good game.
Well, he only played 3 games. He was
I
still
know.
chucking it downfield.
No, that's true.
So give credit to first Brian Dable and then Mike Kafka, too, for figuring out a way to manufacture more big plays. And when I looked at the offense, that was a big thing that jumped out at me. 3rd down, they've been pretty good, 11th in the league. Their red zone stuff still needs to get better. It's just not good enough.
Just real quick.
Yes.
Also, give credit, going back to what we were discussing before, the offensive line.
Oh, 100%.
Those plays downfield don't have any chance to develop if the offensive line isn't given any of the 3 quarterbacks time for the play to actually develop.
And that's where I was going next. So if you look at pressure rate, Giants still only ranked 23rd. Not very good. Sack rate, 24th, 7.2%. Not what you're looking at. But then you look at some of the, and again, this is more of advanced metric stuff. You can either buy into this stuff or not. So I'll give you 2 different sets of metrics here. So this should give you an idea that maybe you should buy into them a little bit. ESPN publishes, Matt, as you well know, pass block win rate every week. So this isn't updated through this week. It's updated through last week. They haven't updated their week 12 of the NFL season. Is that a little white chocolate you got there in that cookie? It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
A little white chocolate. That's not bad. So we got...
Grab me right in the middle of lunch.
It's okay. I know I did. And I appreciate you jumping in. Because this is going to work for you tomorrow, by the way. So
All right.
So now we just threw the guy under the bus who screwed up today, and that's fine. So in the pass block win rate metric that ESPN has, where do you think the Giants rank pass block win rate?
This is on offense?
Yes, offense. Pass blocking win rate.
Middle of the pack?
11th.
Ooh, even better.
Overall offensive line pass blocking grade, Pro Football Focus. Where do you think the Giants rank?
I know Pro Football Focus has been very high on the Giants' offensive line this year, and I think I actually saw this. I want to say 5th?
12th.
12th. I saw a different metric that
That's
had PFF had us at 5.
It is right in line with the ESPN number, right? I mean, if I told you before the year that they'd be ranked 11th and 12th in those metrics, I think we'd be having a parade.
And we were asking for middle of the pack.
Correct. I think
even
we all said 18th. Sign up. Where do I sign? Right. So again, I thought that was interesting. They've leaned more into being a 12 personnel team this year. They're 6th in the NFL in running 2 tight ends.
Yep.
11 personnel. They're down to 15th. I think no 18th. Sorry, my handwriting sucks.
Wait, the percentage of 11 or 12 personnel?
6th in the NFL, 35%. And it's
kind of crazy because the first 3 weeks there wasn't much of it, and obviously after the Malik injury,
I believe
there was a heavy turn towards that.
I can double check it. Last I looked, they were number 1 since the Malik Neighbors injury. That's correct.
Sense.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is the really interesting stuff, and I'll get to the defense because that's a problem. And I do find it interesting that when we asked about what player we would draft, we would both pick offensive players, even though that's been the strength of the team this year and not the defense. But that's where we are.
I did say also almost any position on defense.
That is correct. You did say that, but that was also your third option.
That's true.
All right, so I broke down Jaxson Dart in a million different ways here in terms of this is all based on EPA per play and EPA per dropback, pardon me. So scrambles are included in this.
Okay.
And then I have passer rating, which is kind of separate. So I broke it down in different scenarios, how he's done this year. And I think it's an interesting, deeper look into how he's played. Do you think he's been better versus man or zone this year?
Man.
No.
He is 50-50 shot.
No, that's fine. He is 28th in the NFL in EPA per dropback against man defense this year. 12th versus zone.
Wow.
So found that interesting. Because a lot of times, if you run a lot of complicated zones, that can give young quarterbacks issues, right? But you look at the Giants wide receiver situation, maybe guys aren't getting open as much versus press man. That's why that can be a little bit of a difference. And the pass rating numbers are the same there. Overall, by the way, he's 16th in EPA per dropback, 15th in pass rating this year, Jaxson Dart. Can't complain. No. Excellent, right? So, now, this is interesting. You always try to look at quarterbacks, how they do without play action, right? You want to see him in a standard passing situation without help, right? How you going against the defense? Where do you think Jaxson Dart ranks in EPA per play without using play action this year?
18th.
5th.
Wow. I'm just taking a wild guess.
No, I know you are. And this is great. Because I think that would be the perception, right? Rookie quarterback without play action, he's going to struggle a little bit. 5th. 8th in quarterback rating, 98. It's excellent.
Well, I think the fact that even without the play action, just his usage of his legs and running offers the threat of, a running play without it actually being a play action running play.
Now, here's an area where he really needs to get better, okay? And these are interconnected. Play action, 32 out of 34 quarterbacks in terms of EPA per play using play action. And I link this to plays under center, 29th in terms of EPA per play as a quarterback. Now, if you watched him in college, this should make a lot of sense to you. He was a shotgun quarterback in college, and when he ran play action, it was more of a shotgun play action RPO where he didn't have to turn his back to the defense. And he's really struggled in the under center play action game, having to turn his back to the defense, Matt. In under center scenarios this year, he has the highest sack rate in the National Football League. It's at 17%, which is astronomically high.
Yeah, that's not great.
It's 34 out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks. So, again, something he wasn't asked to do in college is being asked to do more in the NFL under center play action, especially with 2 tight ends, right? You want to lean into that sort of thing with bigger personnel on the field. That's something because, again, he didn't have to do it in college. I think that's been a bit of adjustment for him in the NFL.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like that going into, after getting drafted, going into his rookie year, even regardless of where he landed, like around the draft time, people said this is something that Jaxson Dart is going to have to develop as part of his game because he just was not asked to do it in college. There's some guys that were not asked to do something in college, start doing it in the NFL, and immediately, hit the ground running, as the numbers show. Not exactly the case with Jaxson, but something that you would think that as he gets more experience running that, plays like that, he will get better because overall, I think we all agree, the first numbers he gave, his overall numbers are good and strong.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Especially given the type of plays that he's accustomed to running. So give him more experience, he'll get better in those other areas.
And 10th in EPA per play in the shotgun in the National Football League,
There you go.
which is excellent. Now, the last two numbers I looked at were how he did against pressure and how he did against the blitz, which are two separate numbers, right?
Yeah.
But you can get blitz but not get pressured. So when under pressure, he's 24th in EPA per play. With no pressure, he's 13th. So he's done better relative to the rest of the league without pressure. And it's funny, you think about him as a guy that runs around and avoids stuff, you think maybe that would be a little bit higher. But you actually like that better. The more consistent metric is how a quarterback does under pressure.
Yeah.
So you want him to be better when he's not under pressure. So that's a good number. Then against the blitz, he's been better against no blitzes than he has been against blitzes.
Which makes
so
sense.
he's 6th in EPA per play when teams do not blitz against him in the National Football League. Excellent. And he is 26th in sack rate in those situations, 22nd in EPA per play against the blitz, which is, you like to be better. But again, and a rookie, you're going to struggle against the blitz a little bit. This is a consistent thing for rookies.
Yeah.
And 30 of 34 quarterbacks in sack rate versus the blitz. So maybe sometimes holding the ball a little bit too much when he sees the blitz coming, which honestly surprised me. I think he's actually pretty good, been pretty good against getting the ball out and finding open players against the blitz. I found that stat a little bit interesting. But
I don't know, I feel like, especially given the sack number you gave way earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of those sacks, I feel like, were just him holding on to the ball a little too long, trying to make something when he, as we learned over the years with Daniel Jones, just get rid of the ball, throw it away.
See, it's funny. I thought a lot of those plays came against on non-blitz plays, but maybe I'm wrong. I have to go back. When I'll do the season, so I'll look back. I'll look at all of his sacks and I'll see when they come. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. Anything with the Dart stuff you find extra interesting that I managed to pull?
No, I mean, most of it makes sense. It
I
goes
agree.
with what the eye test has shown over the last 2 months.
I think you have to be encouraged by how he's done in non-pressure situations, non-blitz situations, in shotgun when he's comfortable. That's a baseline you're working off of, and I think you have to be pretty happy with that, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, most, if not all, Giants fans are pretty happy with how Jaxson Dart has looked. It's kind of been the play of sort of everyone else that has been a little on the disappointing side.
Yeah, the other thing I want to check here, and I was rushing to get this done before the show, and I did not have a chance to check it. I'm going to check it right now. The other thing I think he needs to work on, and this is referencing, and you maybe remember it, I forgot to write it down. I'm going to look it up right now. If you look at Jaxson Dart's average time to throw, this is still, and I know for more mobile quarterbacks, this is generally a higher number, and I get that. But right now, Jaxson Dart has the 6th highest average time to throw in the National Football League. The only players higher than him are Shedeur Sanders at 3.4 seconds, Caleb Williams at 3.3 seconds, Tyrod Taylor, believe it or not, at 3.25 seconds, Justin Fields at 3.12 seconds, Lamar Jackson at 3.11 seconds, and here comes Jalen Hurts tied with Jaxson Dart at 6th at 3.1 seconds.
Notice a common theme around most, not all, but most of those guys?
Quarterbacks that want to hold the ball and run around a little bit.
Yes.
Whether they should be or not in Shedeur Sanders' case. But he and by the way, he played a nice game yesterday.
He did.
Good job at
For
him.
sure.
And then you have the next guys, J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. So I don't think you want Jaxson Dart living in a world where he's holding the ball 3.1 seconds every drop back.
No.
And it goes back to your previous point, and something that I thought about a lot over the bye week. I think people have very much underrated the impact the Giants' offensive line has had on the overall play of the offense this year. If Jaxson Dart tried to play the way he's playing this year with the way the offensive line played the last 2 years, he'd be not healthy right now.
Yeah.
He would not be. And this offense would be a mess. So I think, to your point, what's allowed the Giants to be successful and play this way has a lot to do with that offensive line.
100%. And as of right now, 3 of the 5 starters on the offensive line are under contract for next year.
If the 2 or not.
2 are not. The whole right side.
And by the way, Runyon and Schmitz are up after next year.
Yes. Where I feel like Bo, maybe. I mean, obviously it depends on the moves that are made this offseason, but Bo, I would think might get a chance to compete maybe for one of the spots.
And I know this coaching staff sees him as a tackle, but what's the next coaching staff going to see him as? Neither of us know that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. The defense is less interesting because it's just not very good. I don't have many numbers to really change people's minds on this, to be quite honest with you. DVOA 29th, EPA per play 29th, dead last in rushing on both of those, passing 19th and 25th. You can look at the yards per game, yards per play. It's all in the bottom 3 or 5 in the league. Passing's a little bit better than that. I always worry, though, Matt, when teams rush the ball so well against you, it makes your passing numbers look better because teams just keep running it. So your passing yards per game end up not being as bad as maybe they should be. Red zone, not very good. Third down, 21st, not very good. There just weren't that many interesting things here. One thing I found interesting, they really do mix up their coverages a lot. They're not in the top 9 in terms of coverage rate in any single coverage. So they really do mix up their coverage menu in terms of how they do it. This is really the disappointing one to me, and then we'll get to your calls. I know people are holding on the line here. I want to get to you for the next 40 minutes or so. Take your calls. But 20th in sack rate, 24th in pressure rate. And going into this year, we thought that was going to be the strength of the team, and it just has not worked out that way.
Yeah, it really has not. And the interesting thing I find about that is this was after last week. So going into this past weekend's games, obviously the Giants did not play, so these rankings will likely change. But after 13 weeks, we were talking before about ESPN's pass rush win rate. Abdul Carter ranked 8th in the NFL individually in pass rush win rate after last week's game. Obviously, that's only translated to 1.5 sacks, which we all agree is less than we would like, fewer sacks than we would like to see.
And his quick pressure rate on PFF is similarly strong, so that is not an ESPN-only thing.
Yeah, but to see Abdul Carter ranked 8th in that metric, and Brian Burns was very close behind him, I think at either 10th or 11th. So you have 2 of the top, let's call it 12 pass rushers and pass rush win rate, and yet you just gave those sack numbers and pressure numbers, and the Giants are well down that list. That's what I guess is a little perplexing to me. Like, you would think if you're at least 2 of your edge rushers, obviously Kayvon Thibodeau's in the equation as well, but 2 of your edge rushers are winning that often, that would lead to more sacks and pressures, but it's not really been the case outside of Brian Burns.
No, it has not been. It's been disappointing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the phones. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. We thank you for your patience holding. We will get to as many people as we can. Let's go to Donnie in Queens. You lead us off today. Donnie, what's going on?
Hey, guys.
How you doing, Donnie?
If I told you at 19-0 in the Broncos game, a week after thrashing the Eagles, that we would be in early December with the first overall pick, you'd probably tell me I was crazy.
I think everybody with Donnie. I'm with you. Things in this league can turn fast.
Yep.
Yeah, but here we are. But
Yep.
I've made enough negative phone calls for the season, so I figured I'd just give you a couple of things I have my eye on.
Sure.
Moving forward these last 4 games, and you just hit on one of them, and it's my biggest concern about Jaxson is he simply doesn't look comfortable under center. He's going to have to spend a lot of time on that in the offseason. It just doesn't look fluid, even like getting out of his breaks. And, I'm watching the Chicago game yesterday, and like that's the offense I want to see the Giants run. Under center, play action, leaning on the defense. To me, when you're in shotgun all the time, it just limits what you can do, particularly in the play action and the running game. So that I totally agree on that. That's a big thing for me moving forward.
And Donnie, by the way, I don't know about Matt, but I've said this on the show before too. That's what I want to see the offense look like too. Make teams honor your run game, pass off of that, get downfield, a bunch of crossers off that play action, Matt. If that's the offense I would kind of like to see here next year as well.
Oh, 100%. But the thing is, with that Bears offense right now, show me a rushing attack that's operating more efficiently and better than the Bears right now.
No, it's true.
The Giants just have a
they're
long.
committed to it.
The Giants' offense has a long road to go to get to even close to that level of a running game.
And especially with the two offensive linemen
And
you
that's
mentioned. They gotta make a
but that's what
decision on.
makes them able to run play action so much is because Ben Johnson, the running scheme that they have going right now is the best in the NFL. And they're literally running against, it doesn't matter who's going up against them. They are finding success on the ground against everyone. They had success against the Packers yesterday, who are one of the best run defenses every week. It's the same thing. So I agree with you completely.
It's almost like Ben Johnson knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's just, the offense is a ways to go to get to that level where teams have to even come close to respecting our run game like that.
Go ahead, Donnie.
Yeah, well, I would say start with not hiring a coach that lives in shotgun, but we'll deal with that in the offseason. Second is I definitely think we need to see improved level of play maturity out of Abdul. To me right now, those are the two most important players in the organization. The first 6-7 games, it felt like the sacks were coming. That has not happened. I know he was credited one with the other night in the Patriot game, but let's be honest, I don't even know if there was a yard lost on that.
Drake May ran. Basically Carter got stoned on his block, and Drake May ran right into him. That's what happened on the play.
Right.
Correct. No, I'm with you on that.
I would have got barreled over, but I could have done that. Third, and this is a big one, and make sure we get Andrew Thomas to the finish line healthy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let him go into an off season where he's not recuperating, doesn't need to have a surgery, doesn't need anything cleaned out. In fact, I wouldn't even hate shutting him down with a game or two left, because my number 4 and final one would be I'd like to see Marcus Bowe get out there and see what we have in him. They have a big decision to make on Jermaine and what to pay him, and I think getting some film out on Marcus would be very helpful. So I wouldn't get our hopes up on the first pick. I do think they'll get a game or two here towards the end based on the schedule, but those 4 things to me are very important moving forward. So appreciate the info you gave us at the top of the show, and I'll call back before the year's over. Thanks, guys.
No, thanks, Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah, I think he knocked off 3 guys pretty good. And I'll say this, too. You talked about Carter's. I feel like even though he wasn't getting the numbers, Matt, he was more impactful earlier in the year than he has been the last few weeks. I feel like once he came back in the last game after the first quarter against the Patriots, I felt he did get in the backfield a few times, and he should have been. He was going up against the backup left tackle. Yeah. But I feel like let's see that level of impact the rest of the year now. We did in those 3 quarters versus the Patriots. Let's see that now the last 4 games. Even if the sacks aren't there, let's see the impact on the game.
Yeah, if you look at his analytics, his game log throughout the season, you'll see the first couple of weeks he had made an impact. He had the half sack in the season opener, but he was getting a lot of pressure, and at least somewhat consistently the first couple of weeks. Then he went through a long stretch, where he really was not making an impact basically at all. And then I would say the last 2, maybe 3 games, you've seen him pick it back up again. So if he had been producing like he did at the beginning of the season and then this last stretch all year, I think his sack numbers would be significantly better. But obviously, you can't just eliminate, a 6-week stretch where he kind of disappeared. And that is the reason why I think his numbers and the perception of his play is so off, because when you're the number 3 pick, and especially coming off the season that he had last year at Penn State, you're expected to make an impact and do it pretty consistently. And you can't go, a month and a half without really showing up at all.
And look, he's going to have Laramie Tunsil this week. He's been lining much more up on the right side of the defense over the left tackle recently, so I'll call that the matchup, even though he may move around. He gets Tunsil. He's going to get Darisaw when they play the Vikings in a couple weeks, who just got back from injury. Yep. Cowboys, Tyler Guyton, he's been in and out of the lineup. I don't know if he's going to be healthy by the end of the year. He's an improving young player, but again, he's not an upper echelon tackle. And then, the Raiders, if Colton Miller's healthy, that's a challenge too. I forgot. Their offensive line stinks, but Colton Miller's a good player. So if he gets Miller on the left side, so we'll see. He'll have a couple nice matchups to watch him against in the last 4 games of the year, which will be fun.
He is one of the guys I think this last month is the most important for, because, it's not going to wipe out everything from the first 13 weeks of the season, but if Abdul Carter finishes this last month of the season strong, multiple sacks in this last month, a lot of pressure, it'll just have probably himself, but I think also just everyone else, the fan base, anyone, just feel a lot better about him going into next year.
And look, and don't have another thing where you got to get benched for a quarter or a few series.
That goes without saying.
That's almost number one before even the other stuff.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. You know, there cannot be any more disciplinary related things at all this last month.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, if he finishes strong, if he gets, and this might be a stretch, but 3 sacks in the last 4 games, it might not sound like much, but I think it'll give everyone just some level of added confidence going into next year that him, Burns, and Kayvon, because the 3 of them are all, at least as of now, under contract to be back, that hopefully that unit with a healthy Dexter Lawrence in the middle will help improve all of those sack numbers.
All right, let's go to Wilson in Roxbury. Wilson, hope you enjoyed your bye week, sir.
Hey, Wilson.
I missed you, Johnny. I missed you. I missed Matt. I missed everybody. But
I haven't gotten to speak to you in a while, Wilson.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, listen. Let me add something. When you win 11 games in 3 years, man, we all trying to cling to something. But for a lot of people to think that this kid is a franchise quarterback, it is you just trying to fool yourself. This kid is a small kid with a below average arm.
He doesn't have a below average arm, Wilson.
I understand that it's a first round pick, Johnny. But
no,
Johnny,
Wilson, he does not have a He does not have a
Right.
below average arm. I would call it I would say he is an average NFL arm. I don't think it's below
Okay.
average.
You can win. You can win with that.
Of course
Okay.
you can. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but
Like Wilson. Just an example.
Right.
Like his arm and Joe Burrow's are very, very similar, in my opinion. Very similar.
okay. All right. I'm just gonna say this to you, Johnny, before I get to Joe Schoen real quick.
Yes.
I know, everybody knows that the Giants cannot bring a first year head coach here. They can't. It'll be such a disaster that people will blow up. So they're gonna have to get a guy that's been here, that's done that, right? I'm gonna give you an example real quick. I'm just gonna give you a name. Let's say Mike McCarthy comes in.
Okay.
I'll give you a name, just one
Sure,
name.
that's fine.
And Mike says, Mr. Mara, you want me to lie to you? No, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me, Mike. Don't lie to me. You're not going to win with this kid. You're not winning with this kid as a quarterback. What do you do? Because you have the first overall pick as of today. What do you do, Johnny?
Yeah, but Wilson, I would say, and I'm being completely honest with you, just in terms of hold on, let me go, Wilson. In terms of tools, athleticism, arm strength, things of that nature, I think Dart's got more of that than Fernando Mendoza.
Well, Johnny, listen, he rented the blue tent this year. Basically, he had to pay the NFL to live in the blue tent. I'm saying something drastically has to come. Plus, on top of that, this kid, for some reason, got like a bullseye on his back. I don't know if it's his personality, but that tends to that catches up with you.
No, Wilson, look, everything you're saying, Wilson, is fair, and I don't think it is. And look, coming off of Daniel Jones's first year, everyone was convinced he was a franchise quarterback for a long time, right? So I think we've seen him. Wilson, hold on, let me finish. So after 8 games that Jaxson Dart has played, he's had 8 starts, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I don't think we know anything yet. I think he's shown enough that you need to see more and see him in another year. But am I willing to place a bet that he's going to be the next Eli Manning and the quarterback for 15 years after 8 games? I don't think anyone should be there yet. And that's nothing against Jaxson Dart. I would say that about Cam Ward. I would say that about a bunch of other young quarterbacks in the league too. I've seen too much where I've seen guys play well for short stretches and then it doesn't go well. I've seen guys play poorly for short stretches and end up being really, really good. So I just think it's a very small sample size, Wilson, but I think we're talking about next year. And I think Jaxson Dart has flashed enough and showed us enough, especially given what the quarterback class looks like this year in the draft, that it makes so much sense to make him the starter for next year.
Yeah, Wilson, my comment earlier, that last point that John made is the reason. We're looking at a quarterback class that does not have, that Andrew Luck type prospect, that sure bona fide, franchise quarterback guy. So that combined with what Jaxson has shown us in this 8 starts, I think that combined is more than enough to go into 2026 with Jaxson Dart as the quarterback. I'm not sitting here saying this guy, guaranteed he's here for the next 15 plus years. Like, we've seen things change so quickly in the NFL that you never know. I'm done making long-term proclamations.
Yes, me too.
I've been bit in the butt too many times doing that. but I feel confident saying that he is by far the best option going into 2026.
No,
Right.
I understand that, but even that's how bad. That's how, I guess curse is not the right word. I don't know. That is just the way that the ball just has fallen for Giants fans. That even when we have won only 2 games this year, and we can get a high draft pick and everything. Even with all that, with all those high draft picks that we had in the past 3 years, we're still gonna go next year with such a big question mark. It is. I don't know if another franchise, goes through that. I mean, okay, like Cam Ward, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. Even though we drafted a kid, but we don't know next year, and we should have a better example of what we're supposed to expect. But if I go for what I saw this year, I said, well, how is this kid going to last 17 games? I haven't seen him, I haven't seen a wow. Okay, here we go. I haven't seen a wow game. I said, okay, that kid has it. He's got it. He's got it. I haven't seen it, Johnny. I don't know if you have. I don't know if you, Matt, have, but I haven't seen it. And real quick before I let go, guys, on Joe Schoen, I'm going to get, like I said, look, forget about Abdul Carter. It's got a lot of red flag. I don't know. But when you draft a number 3rd overall player, he's got to have more impact. Half the time, I didn't even know he was on the field. That's how bad it's been. But I'll give you a few names. Look, Drew Phillips, Tyler Newman, Ted Banks, Evan Neal, Josh Asudu, Jalen Hyatt, Kevin Thibodeau to a point. All those guys have in common is this. They have made zero impact on this team. That's too many draft picks, Johnny. Too many high draft picks that haven't made no impact at all. And that alone is an indictment. And thanks again, guys, for talking. It was really nice talking to you guys after a while.
Wilson.
Especially you, Matt. Have a good day.
Thank you, Wilson.
Good talking to you, man. And look, guys, again, I would say this no matter what Jaxson Dart has done this year. It's just a small sample size, and we've seen small sample sizes change things. But I feel, I again, just because of what the class looks like, I don't even hesitate saying forego a quarterback in this year's draft class. Like, Jaxson Dart has shown me enough. And I don't know if he's had one wow game overall, Matt, that I would say, like, all right, this game is what blew me away. But I've had enough moments throughout all his games where I've been like, all right, if he's shown some special traits here, or if he can get better at the everyday, every down in, down out quarterbacking part of the NFL, which is getting the ball out a little bit quicker, things like that, I feel like there's enough there where he can become a very good quarterback in the National Football League. We'll see if that happens. I think he has a chance to do it. I think this will be an attractive job because Jaxson Dart is here. My guess is that they're not going to hire a coach who then comes in and says, I want to change the quarterback, because the guy that wants to come here is going to be a guy that wants to coach Jaxson Dart. And generally speaking, you talk to people around the league, and Bob Papa does this before games. He knows people on other teams, and he talks to them about Dart before the game. He's gotten very positive reports on Jaxson Dart. Other teams and other coaches really like the way he plays. So I think, again, still a lot to prove, but I think you have to like what you see moving forward.
Yeah, look, we're not sitting up here saying that it's been a perfect season for Jaxson Dart.
No.
Because it hasn't been. There are areas that, John, you touched on earlier that he clearly just has to improve on in the offseason leading into next year. That being said, he definitely has shown enough flashes where he deserves to be the starting quarterback going into 2026. Like, I don't see how that's even a discussion.
No, me neither.
You can't give up on guys that have shown this much promise after one season. I don't think you should give up after a first-round rookie quarterback after 1 year period, barring, like a Josh Rosen type situation, but also one that's just played at the level that Jaxson has played for most of the time that he's been out there. Like, again, there are areas he needs to improve in. He cannot take this many hits on a weekly basis, because you're right, he's just not going to last long-term in the NFL taking that many hits. No quarterback is. But I just want to point out that, and I'm not trying to compare them as players, as quarterbacks, but just in this one pure, simple fact, as a rookie, Josh Allen took so many hits. So many hits. Last year, as a rookie, Drake May took so many hits. Drake May, obviously, only in year 2. Josh Allen, now in year 7?
Something like that.
Drake May, in just 1 year,
8.
has gotten a lot better at not taking so many hits, not putting his body at risk as much. Josh Allen has gotten significantly better. Now, he still runs it a decent amount, and when you run it that much, you're going to sometimes just take the big hit.
And he's also 245
He's
pounds.
a lot. He's bigger, yes 1,000%. But point being, quarterbacks can learn to not take as many hits. When you're a rookie, a 22-year-old, coming in, trying to prove yourself, you feel like you're invincible. And I feel like that the way that Jaxson was playing prior to the concussion was he kind of felt like I never get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Superman. And then you get hurt. And then it's sort of like a little bit of like a wake-up call. And I think as he gets more experience, especially going into next year, he will learn that he is so important to this team. He needs to be out there, and you're not going to be able to be out there every single week if you're taking, 10 plus hits every single game. That is something that rookie quarterbacks most of the time do learn. Not everyone, but most of them do learn how to take less hits. Jaxson seems like a very smart kid. I feel like he will be able to learn and, get it through his mind that he needs to be out there for his team each and every week. And the way to do that is to not take quite as many hits.
Don't be Will Levis.
Definitely not.
I just mean in terms of willingness to take hits.
Yes.
He was YOLO. He was like, let's go, boys. And he would just run into people and get demolished on a weekly basis. So you got to just not do that.
Yeah. And again, just looking at this upcoming draft, again, we don't know where the Giants will actually land. There's still 4 more games to be played.
We don't know who's coming out. I mean, Simpson and Moore could both go back in.
Yeah. But regardless, you would think that there would at least be, at least one quarterback that will be at the top of the draft. And if the Giants find themselves in a position where they can trade down and pick up, let's say, a first-round pick in 2027, which just overall is considered to be a much stronger class.
We've heard that before, but yes.
We have heard that before. I feel like we hear it every year.
Yes, we do.
Regardless. But it makes sense.
I agree.
It would put you in a situation where you are stockpiling your draft assets, putting yourself in a situation where, again, you never know what might happen throughout the 2026 season. You have 2 first-round picks in 2027. Your own and whatever team's trading up, they're going to have a rookie quarterback and probably not that good of a team. So there's a chance that could be that pick from the other team could be a top 10 pick, which whether or not you're in the quarterback business, you obviously would like to have an additional top 10 pick.
All right, let's go to Jonathan in Westchester. He's up next. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're good.
So, not the reason I called, but in response to Wilson, I do have to say I've been very impressed overall with Dart. I think if you look at his stats, you also have to take into account he's had a bunch of passes, great passes that were dropped.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. So I missed the beginning of the show, and I apologize if you already touched on this, but I was watching Joe Schoen's press conference.
Yeah, Jonathan,
week.
it's funny. We did not do a show after that press conference last week.
Okay.
And I thought about whether or not we should lead the show with it today, but I felt like it was like 6 days ago at this point, and it was a little bit of old news, so I decided not to. But feel free. You have the floor. Talk about it if you want.
Yeah, so there was actually a question that I kept rooting for the reporters to ask it, and I don't think I heard it asked. So my understanding is that Wandell, Bellinger, Luminor, Flott, and McFadden are all going to be free agents after this season.
That is correct, yes.
Those are all key free agents in my mind. I mean, we don't have to go through every one, but Wandell, he's having a career year, I think. He's as tough as could be. Flott is one of the few ascending players on the defense. Luminor is quietly having an excellent season, I think, at right tackle. So anyway, my question, that maybe you can answer this for me, is whether Joe Schoen has the green light from ownership to, push to extend these guys, now or shortly after the season before they hit free agency.
Jonathan, that's actually a good question. I don't know the answer to that. He did not say whether or not he has engaged with any of these guys in extensions. I don't think, right? I don't think he was asked specifically
that was
about
honestly
that.
one of the things that I was most looking for in his press conference last week, and just based on how the season has gone, the beat reporters chose not to ask anything related to that. I guess because before the season,
They might have had. Was there one Illuminor Bow question about offensive tackle next year? We might have gotten one of those. I think maybe, but maybe that was it.
I mean, I'll check the transcript. I do not remember.
Okay,
though.
I could be wrong.
I know he was asked about it before the season started in his end of training camp press
maybe that was
conference.
it.
So maybe I can't remember. Maybe he said then, we're not going to really discuss during the season. I don't remember.
All right. So what
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean-
say, Jonathan, really quickly about the presser. Obviously, tough questions got asked, and understandably so. I think Joe expected it. I don't think he was surprised by the nature and the tenor of the questions that he got. There hasn't been enough wins. He knows that. As of now, he's going to be leading the coaching search. Still 4 games left in the year. We'll see what happens after the year. And I think he handled things as well as he could. He knows he's made mistakes. He admitted he made mistakes. Things have not gone as well as he would have liked. But he does think there are good pieces here, and we'll see what it looks like when the season ends in 4 weeks. I don't know what else to take out of it besides that. There wasn't a whole lot of news in there. You know what I mean?
He was not asked about the pending free agents
Got
at
it.
all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my concern is that, we fall into this trap again where, we bring in a new general manager who wants to bring in his own guys, and, you have some very good or even great players on the roster that were brought in under the old GM. And, for example, the last time around it was McKinney and Love and Leonard Williams. And, you end up losing these key contributors just because a new guy wants to, kind of clean house to some extent. So that's kind of my concern there.
No, Jonathan, it's fair, and appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. Remember, they did want to bring Julian Love back. They actually offered him more money than the Seahawks did when he signed there initially. And Love's agent rejected it, thinking he could get more money elsewhere. He couldn't. And then the Giants, I believe, re-signed Slayton on the 2-year deal, if I remember right. And then they had not have money left under the cap, I think, to bring Love back. I think it was Slayton who they ended up signing in that situation. And they just couldn't bring him back. So, look, we'll see. It's funny. I don't know if funny's the right word, but it is ironic that coming off a season that's been a colossus disappointment, some of the guys that actually were playing the best for you and are homegrown are actually the guys that are coming up as free agents. So there are going to be some really tough decisions because you look at it individually, like, yeah, these players are good players. You think they can help you. They're not old. They're all under 30 years old. But at the same time, do you want to restrain and constrain and give your cap potential future limitations to bring back guys that just helped you to a 3-14 record? You know what I mean? It's just there's going to be a tough balance to strike there when you decide who you want to bring back and who you don't.
Yeah, 100%. It will be up to Joe Schoen at the end of the season. At this point, I'd be a little surprised if we find out that they've re-signed one of these pending free agents to a big new contract in the last month.
Something tells me Jermaine Illuminor is going to want to see what he can get on the open market.
I don't blame him.
I don't
The way
blame
he's
him
been
either.
playing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The only thing I will say is that the last time the Giants changed general managers, Joe Schoen did end up re-signing some of the guys that Dave Gettleman drafted. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas being the big two that are still here and still big-time contributors. So even, doesn't matter who's brought in whatever position, like, it's not going to be a complete cleaning house of every player on the roster. Like,
Yeah, no, you would not think.
you got to keep some, regardless of whether or not you brought them in. Like, you got to keep. You don't want to be in the business of losing good players. Doesn't matter how they got to the Giants. Once they're here, you want to keep the good guys here.
I'm with you.
I think that, we'll see what happens.
Let's go to Bobby in Nolens. Bobby, what's going on?
Hi, good afternoon. First time call. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a
thanks for calling,
long-time
Bobby.
Giants fan,
Appreciate
having
it.
grown up in Rhode Island.
Great.
Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Just a couple comments and a couple questions, if I may, if
Sure.
you can answer them. My comments are the Giants have been in like just about every game except for maybe 2 of them. The last one against New England. And I think the offensive line has played pretty well. I just hope the ball club goes out in these next few weeks and plays hard to win each and every game, just like Jaxson Dart has stated. I hope they finish strong, no matter what the draft situation may be. I know that's important, but I would, and I hope Kafka gets a consideration to bring him back.
He'll be considered.
I know. What's that?
I said he'll be considered for sure.
Yeah. I just, I know I don't want to play Monday morning quarterback, but that game against Detroit when Winston threw the ball on the fourth down in the red zone, I would have taken the 3 points to win the ball game and make Detroit come all the way down and score a touchdown. But that's beyond that's all in the past. I hope Kafka gets a consideration, and going to the draft, I would try to beef up the secondary. I think there's some weak spots back there. No matter, considering how many games they lost in the last 4 or 3 minutes, Denver, Detroit, Dallas, could go on and on.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Any news, guys, on Thibodeau and the health of the ball club going against the Commanders?
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate the call.
Thank you, Bobby.
And we appreciate you joining the show and calling in for the first time. Welcome aboard.
Please call again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we have not heard from the coach yet this week. We'll hear from Mike Kafka tomorrow, I believe.
Yes. Mike Kafka speaks at 12:50 tomorrow over Zoom. And then I don't know which players yet, but a couple of players will then be speaking a couple minutes later.
Yeah, so we don't know. Mike Kafka was cagey, I'll use the word. My guess is that he probably just doesn't know himself. The medical people don't know for sure in terms of when or if Thibodeau can come back this year.
We'll only thing I will say is that Kayvon has already missed 3 games, and now there's a bye week as well. Typically, obviously this doesn't always end up being the case, but typically if the team expects a player to be out for less than 4 games, they do not put the guy on injured reserve. If they think it's going to be 4 more weeks, the guy lands on injured reserve. Kayvon was not placed on injured reserve.
So this should be about the time
with the added week with the bye week.
Good point.
It's basically as if he had missed 4 game weeks. So you would hope that he's, able to return to the practice field this week. We don't know for sure. I'm sure hopefully Coach Kafka will give us some sort of update tomorrow, but logically thinking, it seems like he at least has a chance to play this week.
More interesting, I'm guessing we're going to see Mariota this week? You think, right?
I don't know, because after the game, Dan Quinn said Jaden is fine. It was a precautionary measure keeping him out because they were already getting blown out.
Oh, interesting.
He
I
did
did
say
not read that.
Right to the reporters right after the game. He said Jaden Daniels is okay. He could have gone back in. We just held him out for precautionary measures. So,
and maybe not.
In that regard, I would think Jaden will play. If he's healthy, I don't see why.
Yeah.
He didn't re-aggravate the elbow injury that forced him to miss time. I don't see why he would not be out there. Then again, I don't really understand why he's out there at all right now.
You're always trying to win games, Matt. You know how that goes.
No, I know, but that was a gnarly elbow injury he had.
Yeah, I know. This quarterback really needs a left elbow at all.
That's the type of guy where every time he gets hit, I have to hold my breath.
No, I know. I'm with you.
Because he's just so small, skinny, tall, big, but he doesn't have a ton of muscle. So every time a big defensive player comes and nails him, I hold my breath.
Please just snap in half, right? I know. And Zach Ertz obviously with the bad knee injury in that game. That was a rough hit.
Yeah,
that was a rough hit.
He's tore his ACL. He's done for this
season. Yeah, and that might be his career too.
That's a sad way to end it.
It is. Really nice career for Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap things up with Scott in New Mexico. And by the way, folks, I should say this. I wanted to say this earlier in the show, and I forgot. I know all the Apple Podcast and the Spotify year in review things are coming up. If you guys do have us on the top of your leaderboards and you want to send them in to us on Twitter, please do that. We'd love to see them. We'd be excited for that, either for Big Blue Kickoff or the Giants Huddle. I'll say this on our Giants Huddle at the end of the week as well. So send those in. We'd love to see them, and we appreciate all you guys watching and listening and making us a part of your football fandom and Giant fandom lives. Go ahead, Scott. What do you got?
Hi, guys. First of all, in regard to Jaxson Dart, before I get to my main comments, I think Wilson tends to over-dramatize just a little.
Just a little.
I think he has a nucleus to be a good quarterback, and he will develop into a good quarterback. Whether he's a great quarterback is yet to be determined, but certainly a workable one. As far as what you commented on who you should take in your first draft choice or whatever you're going to do or trade down. I think he should pay Illuminor whatever he wants and basically take a wide receiver or somebody like Colonel Tate from Ohio State because they need a great receiver to complement Malik Neighbors. Darius Slayton is there, but he's a second good receiver, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep on.
And Scott, by the way, if I had to make my decision right now, I think I would do exactly what you just said, to be honest with you.
Agreed completely.
Okay.
Resign Jermaine and then draft
A wide receiver. Yep.
Yes.
100%.
Right. So my main point is this. This has probably been, for me, the most disappointing Giant team I've watched, and I've watched them for a long time, since '63. The reason being is they have so much talent that hasn't developed the way it is. And I want to talk specifically about the backfield and some of the statistics that are alarming to me. I'll just quote a few because I'm not going to go into too many, but just a few. The team opponent passing yardage percentage, the Giants ranked 27. Opponent passing yards per game, 24th.
Yeah, it's not good.
Passing yards on first down per game, 29th. Now, that was supposed to be the saving grace for the Giants, was the defensive backfield, but Paulson Adebo did not play like he played in New Orleans.
And by the way, 15-plus yard passes allowed 25th, 30-plus yard passes allowed 25th. So they've given up big plays, too.
Right. So my question to you is there a problem? I understand that the defensive line coach or assistant defensive line coach was fired yesterday, Brian Cox, which has nothing to do with their, obviously, defensive line coach, but obviously they're starting to clean house. But the defense has been the biggest disappointment in the entire year because they had talent and they seem to underutilize it. And with the defensive backfield, that's the key. If you can't keep guys from getting first downs and so forth via the pass, and you're in real trouble. They have problems otherwise, but I was just wondering, and I'll keep it short, what's the problem with the defensive backfield? Why aren't they playing better than their positions indicate? And is it simply that they don't have the coaching? Because that's what I keep leaning back to. I had mentioned that usually the buck stops with the head coach. You've already seen what's happened, and it's been a continuum for 3 or 4 years. So what do you think has to be improved in the defensive backfield so they work as a cohesive unit as opposed to being what they are and not being able to finish games the way they're supposed to be doing? And I'll take your questions off the air, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Look, I think if that's not the number one question, it's certainly a top 3 question you have to figure out heading into next year, right? Because they've, Matt, invested a lot of capital in the secondary, right? Cordell Flott's a free agent. He was a 3rd-round pick. Deontay Banks was the 1st-round pick. Drew Phillips was a 2nd-round pick. Tyler Newman was a 2nd-round pick. Javon Holland was a big free agent signee. Paulson Adebo, big free agent signee. Those are all premium assets that were used to get that secondary together. And it has not been as impactful as you needed it to be, given all the resources you've poured into that unit. So, Scott, I usually like to have answers for you. I don't necessarily have one in this case. You hope the younger guys, I think, just continue to naturally improve as they go. But other than that, I don't have a silver bullet here, Matt, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, me neither. I would say hopefully next year we see more of 2024 Drew Phillips and Tyler Newman, because I think at the end of last season, everyone felt very good about those two being keys to the secondary moving forward.
Agreed.
Obviously, they have not had quite as good of a season this year as they had last year. So they're still young, though. Obviously, they're only heading into year 3 of being in the NFL, so there's still plenty of time to grow and develop into the guys that we thought they were going to be after their rookie years. In terms of the other guys, I mean, again, I'm with you. I don't really have an answer. I think obviously Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland are proven veterans that have had success in the NFL.
I think
just chalk it up to, because the whole defense has been so bad all year that they've just kind of gone with the wind, sort of. And
I don't think Holland's played poorly this year. I think he hasn't made a ton of big plays, but we haven't seen him get beat a whole lot either.
I don't think he's played poorly, but obviously when you get the contract that he got, I think you were expecting him to be.
I agree.
And when I say you, anyone expecting him to be sort of an impact player, which that he has not been.
No, I think that's fair.
And the kind of same goes for Paulson Adebo. We thought, each and every week, throw Paulson Adebo on the other team's number one receiver, that guy's locked down.
Yeah, that has not been the case.
That's not been the case. Now, he obviously missed some time with this knee injury, but that's not an excuse because before the injury, he had some mixed bag of performances.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, I'm going to ask you one tough question before we say goodbye here.
Okay.
Let's say the Giants end up picking, again, I think it's unlikely the Giants finish with the top overall pick. I think they're going to win a couple games the rest of the way.
I agree.
Let's say they pick 8th.
Okay.
8th. You get there. Caleb Downs is the highest graded player on your board. He's still available. In fact, he might be the highest graded player on your board. He's still available, but he's a safety. Do you pick him?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 8,
At
I think
8.
it's a lot more.
How about 6?
If he's the top player on your board, yes.
Okay.
And especially if whoever's your top, let's say, wide receiver or offensive tackle, they're already gone.
Well, let's say your top wide receiver is still there, but you have Downs graded, 4 or 5 spots ahead of him.
Now, in this hypothetical situation,
Yes.
are either Cordell Flott or Wan'Dale Robinson re-signed? Because obviously that
Let's say
play a
either
big role.
both are or either both aren't.
If both Wan'Dale and Flott are back, that makes me think then that Illuminor probably is not back. So then I would say offensive tackle. If neither of them are back between Cordell and Wan'Dale, then I would hope at least that Jermaine is re-signed. So offensive tackle is not quite as big of a concern. In which case,
Yeah, see, it's tough.
I think if
Tough.
you have them very closely ranked, Caleb Downs and whoever your number one receiver is,
You go
Carnell
receiver.
Tate, let's say,
Mhm.
I think you go Carnell Tate then.
I think you're probably right. I agree with that.
Because Caleb Downs, if he was a shutdown corner, that's another conversation. But
Because that's the thing. If you draft Caleb Downs, you're not throwing them aside, but the playing time for either Phillips, Newbin, or Holland, and it's not going to be Holland, are going to be severely limited next year.
it's not like edge rusher where you could just have one of the guys line up on the inside for a lot of the snaps and you can rotate them in. Like, it's a lot harder to get a third safety on the field a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb Downs is kind of versatile. He kind of maybe play some nickel.
That's why I included Drew Phillips in that group.
Yeah. Look, I think we've seen this past year that just because the Giants have some players that are good, that doesn't mean they're automatically going to pass over a guy at that position in the draft. But the safety position is one where it's a little tougher to do that. So
I think it is too.
I think, and especially having picked Jaxson and at least right now feeling pretty good about Jaxson Dart moving forward, you want to surround him with as much talent and protection as possible. And so if you can pair Malik Neighbors with a top 10 wide receiver, that's a pretty good wide receiver duo for Jaxson Dart to be throwing passes to next year.
Matt,
So,
this was fun.
it was a good time.
It's
Yeah.
good to have you in the Hackensack Meridian Hill Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. That's all the time we have for Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. Great job by the callers today. We thank Bobby from New Orleans for his first-time caller. Welcome aboard. Hopefully you'll stick around with us. And, of course, we'll be with you now the rest of the way. We'll have no shows on Christmas Eve and Christmas. And then I think on New Year's Eve, I think we have a show. I have to double-check that. But we're with you. And then obviously, when the Giants coaching search begins in earnest after the season, we'll have coverage of all that as well. So, again, send in those Spotify or Apple wrap-ups, wherever you get your podcasts. If you get those little end-of-year things that show you how much you listen, we love to see them. Send them in. Thanks for being with us. For Citak, I'm Schmeelk. For Johnny Mack, we'll see you tomorrow on Big Blue Kickoff Live. It'll be Lance and Casillas now that we've rejiggered things. So, talk to them tomorrow. See you then.